Good evening, everyone. We're back. We're back on the Celtic Way. We're here to chat through the team news and all the build-up to Celtic's Premier Sports Cup match at home to Falkirk at Celtic Park. As you can see, Ryan is in place for us there, and he's reporting on the game for us tonight. And there's actually a lot to go through tonight, guys. We're going to go through the team news first, but there's a fair amount of Celtic news that's broken in the last couple hours, so we're going to run through it all as much as we can. But as I say, we'll bring you the actual team news tonight against Falkirk first. And your 11 tonight is Viljami Sinisalo in goal, Alistair Johnston at right back, Dane Murray in the team, more about him in a minute, Austin Trusty in the team, Kieran Tierney starts, the midfield is Callum McGregor, Luke McCowan and Arnie Engels, and your front three is James Forrest, Dyson Maeda and Johnny Kenny. I'm going to run through the substitutes here. Kasper Schmeichel, Liam Scales, Benjamin Nigren, Adam Ida, Yang Yunjun, Shin Yamada, Paulo Bernardo, Rio Otate and Anthony Ralston. Ryan, we talked a bit about the team earlier today on the morning briefing. I think we were wondering how many changes are going to be, what kind of changes are going to be happening. I'm looking at this and some of the changes that I thought were going to happen didn't, and plenty that I didn't realise were going to happen have happened. Pleased to see Viljami Sinisalo in the goal. Big opportunities for Dane Murray and Johnny Kenny. What's your thoughts on the team?
Yeah, it's freshened up. It's good to see that bit of rotation. Still a strong team, but at the same time, there's rotation. Deserve, I think, in the shape of Austin Trusty, he deserves to be in that starting lineup. You get players that are still getting game time, the likes of Kieran Tierney, that's not been put to the bench. He's not been placed on the bench. He's just going to play through it. He's going to get used to playing 60, 70 minutes, whether he likes it or not. Which is great to see, and it's good to see that he's able to play these games in quick succession. I know they played on Sunday and it's Friday, so there's been a fair amount of time in between. But it's good that he's ready for that challenge of playing week in, week out for Celtic. Johnny Kenny starts. Brendan Rodgers is clearly a fan of him. You've got Dyson Maeda in there and James Forrest, probably deserving to keep them. Especially James Forrest is deserving to keep his place, given how good he was at Aberdeen at Pataudry. And yeah, good to see Arnie Engels in the team as well. Looking forward to seeing how he copes in the midfield, his first start of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always intrigued to see certain players start, especially young players. I guess, listen, Brendan Rodgers has gone on record saying he's a fan of Johnny Kenny. He's gone on the record saying he's a fan of Dane Murray. So some fans might be looking at the lineup tonight and being a bit surprised with those selections. But from Brendan Rodgers' perspective, he's been quite consistent in the messaging on both. I think the major news for Dane Murray just now is that he's actually signed a new contract this evening. He's committed his future to the club until 2028. Brendan Rodgers said of Dane Murray's new contract, Dane is a young player I've really enjoyed working with and is someone who has really developed well across the past few seasons. I know there is so much more to come from him and I believe he can have a really successful future with us. He has a brilliant attitude to the game and is a great teammate within our squad. He's very deserving of this new contract and I am delighted for him. Big moment for Dane Murray. An investment in his future. It'll be interesting to see where he goes from here. And look, signing a new contract in the starting 11, it's not much, it can't get much better for Dane Murray.
He'll certainly have that Friday feeling tonight. If he's signed and sealed that deal, he's in the starting lineup. He'll be feeling pretty good about things at the moment. It's been one long journey for Dane Murray because he's came through the academy. I was listening to some of his interview actually on the way here, and he was absolutely delighted, absolutely buzzing to get his new deal signed, sealed and delivered over the line for Celtic. I remember watching him and being impressed with him against Midtjylland. He then got those horrible injuries in quick succession. You know, he was out for the best part of a year, then the best part of another year. Two really bad injuries, but he's back. He had that good loan spell out at Queen's Park, and now he's ready to sort of stake his claim in and around the Celtic first team, which is brilliant to see. I'm glad that he's got that long-term security as well with a new deal. It shows that he's the hard yards that he's putting in training, off the pitch and on it, are paying off for him. So yeah, I'm delighted that one of the academy graduates is signed up for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I think he can play a squad role this season, but I'm suddenly looking at the defensive options Celtic have, and there's quite a lot of them. If you take into account Simpson Pusey, for example, who's here on loan from Man City, there's 4 or 5 defenders for 2 centre-back slots. It seems like Stephen Welsh will be heading out in the club. He has been included in the UEFA squad for the playoff round against K-Rat, but that seems to be a homegrown box-ticking exercise to me because Stephen Welsh has barely featured for quite a while. Just on the UEFA squad, Ryan, again, the other bit of news that was kind of breaking late this evening, UEFA have confirmed Celtic's full squad, full 25-man squad for the playoff round against Kierat. Now, the caveat is, of course, that Celtic can add 2 more players to this before 11 o'clock on Tuesday night. But the squad as it stands, I'm just going to throw it up here. I'm not going to run through the whole thing. It's basically what you would expect. I think the only notable omission, as far as I can tell, well, first Marco Tilio, but I don't think anyone really expected him to make the squad. But then Hayato Inamura, he hasn't made the squad. Brendan Rodgers feeling he's got enough defensive options in that back line, and with the homegrown quotas here in green, he wasn't going to leave out Stephen Welsh to include Hayato Inamura. He wasn't going to leave out Dane Murray and include Hayato Inamura. So Brendan Rodgers has gone for a bit more depth in attack. He has included Callum Osmond in the striking options. And I guess this is a bit of a number game, Ryan. Some people will be disappointed Inamura's not here. I think a lot of fans liked the look of him in pre-season. Brendan Rodgers just wants that bit more depth in the kind of attacking areas with, the defenders that he's got at his disposal as well.
Yeah, a little bit disappointed for him, but I think it points towards his immediate future probably being away from Celtic by means of a loan deal. If he's not going to get the game time, certainly in the Champions League, obviously we all want Kieran Tierney to be playing the Champions League games for Celtic if Celtic get through to that league phase, and obviously in the qualifiers as well. But I think his future lies elsewhere at the moment. That's not to say that he can't come into the team maybe a year or two down the line, maybe even next season, but he needs proper game time in a European domestic league, I would say. So if Celtic can get that sorted, then absolutely brilliant for Inamura. He impressed in pre-season, although there was maybe some question marks over his physicality. So that's maybe something for him to work on. Just on Dane Murray, just delighted to see him in that squad list as well. And it shows that Brendan Rodgers trusts this young player to come on and make a difference if called upon. As much as he's there because he's part of the homegrown and club trained quota, he's still got to trust him in order to put him in that squad list. So great to see. In terms of Stephen Welsh, I think his future does lie elsewhere. I did read a couple of things today that was suggesting that there's still talks between, or maybe a lack of talks between Plymouth Argyle and Celtic at the moment, but that seems to be the most likely destination for him at this point in time.
What do you make of this question, Ryan, we've got from the live chat? Again, hello, everyone in the live chat. Nice to see you this evening. Mantis Toboggan MD, I think he must be an Always Sunny fan. I am also an Always Sunny fan, so nice to see a familiar username.
Me too.
But he's asking, if Shin Yamada is no better than Johnny Kenny, then why did we sign him in the first place? Is that a fair question, Ryan? Are you looking at tonight's team and going, why isn't Shin Yamada starting this match?
Look, I think we spoke about it briefly in the morning briefing this morning. We said that Johnny Kenny could lead the line tonight because Brendan Rodgers has trusted them to come on. He trusted them to come on against St Mirren late on when Celtic were chasing a winner in that game. So it's not entirely surprising that Johnny Kenny is leading the line for Celtic, but I wouldn't rush to judgments on Shin Yamada. He's just in the door at Celtic. Not every player can acclimatise as quickly as Kyogo did when he joined in 2021. So I'm reserving judgment of him until a further date, to be honest. But I do want to see more of him, and I would love to see more of him tonight.
It's one of those ones where you're kind of, and you are, and I kind of am as well. I don't want to prejudge the team too much tonight, because I could see Johnny Kenny going and score a goal. I could see Dane Murray coping with Falkirk reasonably well this evening, yeah. And then you're suddenly any question marks about the team are kind of withdrawn, by default. I get it. This isn't the strongest Celtic 11. It is a match of importance. Celtic need to progress to the next round. We're having to kind of play Kieran Tierney, where if we had a viable backup option, then maybe this would be a game that Kieran Tierney's almost rested for to an extent. I get some of the concerns around the team tonight that's coming through on the live chat and some of the stuff I've seen on social media. But listen, I think if Dane Murray, if Brendan Rodgers hadn't mentioned Dane Murray at all over the last 6 months, and then he's suddenly thrown him into the team tonight, I would be a bit more wary about it than I am. If you follow what Brendan Rodgers said, he has consistently said he's seen development in Dane Murray. He did give him a lot of chances in pre-season as well. So I just don't really think this has come from nowhere. Same with Johnny Kenny. Personally, I'd prefer to see Shin Yamada in the team tonight because I just want to see what he's offering. But I guess Brendan Rodgers picks the team at the end of the day. And if Johnny Kenny does the business tonight, Dane Murray does the business tonight, then it's probably the right team to go for.
Yeah, I've got no issues with the team. I know there's some, rotation in there, but I still think that team is more than good enough to beat Falkirk tonight, especially at Celtic Park. Now, if it was away from home and Brendan Rodgers had made those changes, then you would maybe think, right, what's going on here? Why is it not as strong? But I just feel as if with what they've got at home, they should have more than enough to beat Falkirk. But I think there is respect there. The fact that Kieran Tierney is in the team, Austin Trusty, you've got to remember Arne Engels and Austin Trusty Celtic spent the best part of 16, 17 million on those two players, so they're decent players, and I'd like to see them take their chances tonight, respectively.
So atmosphere's building there at Celtic Park. You can see in the background people are arriving and having good fun. Ryan, I think we're going to let you go. We'll let you get into the stadium, let you get settled. We will be here after the match to talk about all the issues that arise from tonight's match. I think it's an interesting lineup tonight. There's various subplots and stories around the team selection and the potential performance. And I guess we'll discuss that all a bit later on, Ryan, when you come out of Celtic Park, and hopefully everyone's talking about a Celtic win. I'll get a prediction from you before you go, Ryan. What do you see? How do you see tonight's game unfolding, and what do you think the score will be?
Yeah, I think it'll be an open game, which should suit Celtic because it's a knockout tie and Falkirk will want to get through just as much as Celtic do. So I think it's going to be an entertaining game of football, particularly for the neutrals that are watching it. But I do think Celtic will come out on top. I think it'll be 3 or 4-1 to Celtic.
I'm going to go 3-1 for Celtic tonight. I think Falkirk have a goal in them at some point. I think we saw last season that they are capable of scoring at Celtic Park and dealing with the occasion. But I think Celtic's quality will hopefully be telling as the match progresses. And I think there is really viable options to come off the bench to change the game if Celtic need them. So I'm going for 3-1. Ryan's going for 3 or 4-1. That's our feeling on the games. Hazel Finn saying 3-0. She's thinking it's going to be very comfortable. William O'Toole saying 2-0. Natalie McMillan saying 3-0. You know what? Celtic at home against lesser opposition. Everyone's going to be, back in Celtic for a fairly comfortable victory. Rubber Duck saying 5-0 to the mighty. That's the biggest prediction so far. So hopefully it does pan out this way, Ryan. We'll see you after the game. We'll see everyone in the live chat after the game. Thanks for joining us again on the Celtic Way, and we'll see you again next time.